What's good, guys? Welcome back to another video. Obviously slightly different setup compared to usual. I'm finally back at my big baby. Like, it's so big it doesn't even fit in the screen. But yeah, this is my setup that I use when I'm not traveling. Unfortunately, I'm traveling like 11 months out of the year, so I don't really have too much time to spend with this, and it's a bit too big to carry along during the travels. But otherwise, in this video, I'm going to break down what is going to go on with Bitcoin, like what we're looking for in the weekly setup. We're also going to take a look at a few other charts. But yeah, this time around, I'm going to try to take you guys through a more raw kind of approach. Basically just walking you guys through how I would kind of like scan through the markets and what I look for. Because truth be told, I haven't looked at the charts at all today, which also makes this a potentially good time for me to showcase this. But anyways, we're going to start first on the weekly chart. I do this every single time, and the weekly chart kind of serves as a guide for so nice to have a big monitor. Oh my god. Ooh. Man, okay, anyways, what I was saying is that, the weekly chart kind of dictates what the weekly bias is going to be. For example, over the last few weeks, we've managed to use the weekly bias to predict that, okay, just because there are dumps intra-week, we can still expect some sort of an expansion to the upside. And that's exactly what happened, right? On Monday, we looked for a buy below the weekly open to sell, or basically to buy low and then sell high. So far, the weekly bias is bullish on Bitcoin, and so we are going to be looking for longs. Now, the only thing to keep in mind is that in terms of Bitcoin, you've returned back into this weekly fair value gap over here, which is not good, right? If you are, if you're looking for a bullish trade. So we are bullish, but cautiously, because so far, Bitcoin is currently in a downtrend, and this does not look to change. Well, or at least this hasn't changed yet. And so realistically speaking, coming back into this fair value gap means that there is a pretty decent chance of getting rejected out of it. So we're bullish, but we're cautiously so. In terms of the daily chart, you're coming back into this bullish order block. But again, like so far, it looks like you're about to break lower. In the event that you break lower, then this is kind of like the second order block that you could kind of watch for. But like there is just a bit of too much uncertainty here. And one of the core things at least that I look for when it comes to the charts is that I always look for trades, or rather charts, that are just incredibly clear in terms of the setup, right? It's either like, okay, you're obviously going to go long here, or you're obviously going to go short here. Now, on every single time, like if I did not have to make videos, I would not even, like, I would take one glance at this and I would just kind of move on, because so far, you have a reason to be bearish, right? You tap into the bearish fair value gap, on the hourly, you have some sort of a bearish CISD, and on the hourly, you've gotten a bearish CISD. But then on the, on the flip side of the equation, you're like, okay, yeah, on the daily chart, you have this order block, you have that order block. So the key thing that I want you guys to, take away from this is that at the moment, in regards to Bitcoin, you can make an argument for both the bullish side and the bearish side. And that's not what you want to see when you're taking good trades, because the best trades are always the ones that are just straightforward, right? Like there is zero room for doubt. It's either clearly going up or it's clearly going down. Those are oftentimes the big money makers. One such example is last week on Monday, where we got that USD Canadian 8-hour trade, and I was basically done for the rest of the week. In terms of the hourly, you can definitely say, you're going for a short here. In terms of the daily, technically, you are going for a short as well. But in terms of the daily, you have a bullish daily bias. In the hourly, the timeframes are just kind of out of whack here in this case. Like you can reasonably, like I would say I'm leaning like 70-30 towards the bearish side, just because the range high has already been swept and you've got a bearish CISD over here. So chances are you are going to reach 77K by the end of the day, potentially even 76.6. But the thing is, today, Monday, we do not have news. So I'm just going to go on a whim and say, I personally would not be trading Bitcoin at all whatsoever today. But in the event that you do want to take a trade, then I think the only one that happens is like, okay, you have the CISD over there, then you have a bearish fair value gap. So in the hours leading up to basically the New York session, you're going to look for price to come back into this hourly PD array, then to basically get a CISD towards the downside. And if you get that during the New York session, you're going to target this low over here at 77,100. As well as basically just any of these three lows. It depends on what your exchange is showing. But at the moment, range high swept. You're definitely going for the range low. Nobody knows what's going to happen next on the range low sweep. We will still be looking for longs though, just because especially if today closes bullish after kind of sweeping the low. Remember, on a week where you have a bullish weekly bias, you're going to be looking for buys below the weekly open, and the weekly open is at 78,600. So if you go below, that gives you an opportunity to buy low and then sell high later. But again, the last few weeks, the last 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks has been pretty solid in the sense that, okay, price was just, bullish, and there was no such there was no resistance basically. Like the first level of resistance that I was going to look for got hit last week. So we had like 3 to 4 weeks of just like really solid price action. So now it wouldn't be surprising if we, start paying it, like, or rather we start being cautious, right? Weeks are not trading weeks, some days are not trading days, but Monday today 100%, like, again, I can make the argument that the trade is going to be 70-30 this way. Am I going to try to take this? Maybe. Chances are no, because trading is not about, taking a bunch of trades, right? It's about identifying like a really high quality setup, and the fact, to the point where it's so high quality that you'll be willing to risk, 1, 2, 3% of your account on that trade. And in the event that you win it, like, boom, right? That one win, such as E1 from USD Canadian from last week, in fact, on last Monday, like, that's the type of trade that literally makes the week, or potentially even next month. Like, you do not have to look at the charts anymore for the rest of the week, because, you got a solid A+ trade. And like, to many of you, you might not understand that, because trading feels more like okay, I want to do this every day. But like, just because you're looking at the charts every day doesn't mean that you're going to get a good setup. That's just what I think at the moment, at least as far as Bitcoin is concerned. Again, 70-30 this way, but the setup today is definitely going to lean towards shorts. And like, if you do take any trades, like, go half risk. There is no reason why you should be going full risk for today. There's no news. The direction is, to be determined. It's also Monday, where, it's kind of like still setting up for, the rest of the week. But yeah, like, we absolutely just take it easy. Like, potentially we might get some better setups as far as London, as far as, Forex is concerned. One thing that is promising though is the fact that the Asia low has already been swept during the London. So, like, again, that's the other problem. Like, at the moment you can make an argument for both sides, right? Asia low has been swept, so technically you should be looking for manipulation. But then you also have, a bullish daily bias, so technically you should be looking for a long. But then if you go long, then you're coming straight into this level of resistance here. So like, yeah, if it was me, I would just avoid. Like, hopefully you've already, kind of heard the uncertainty in, my voice. As far as trading days are concerned, this is not a good one. Wow, the amount of screen real estate I have, I haven't had this for, I don't know, like a solid, so yeah, for a solid 3 months actually, because the last 3 months I've been overseas, and then next week I'm going overseas again. Such a pity that I can't just bring this along and just have a nice setup everywhere that I go. But anyways, in terms of euro, we're looking for a bearish weekly bias, and in terms of the daily bias, it is bullish. So bullish for today. Structure on the daily chart still looks pretty good. Now, going down into the 1 hourly, we can see that the gap has been, kind of filled, which is a pity. Because if I knew there was news. Wait, why is there news? On Forex Factory, it only says JPY has news. Huh, that's weird. What's this? What was this about? GFK consumer confidence. Okay. Yeah, if I knew there was news today, I would have probably traded euro. But to be honest, my approach when it comes to Mondays are usually pretty conservative. Like, I usually don't even look to trade on Mondays, to be honest. Like, that was definitely textbook. Basically coming into some sort of fair bit gap and then bumping. Like, I wish I was paying attention at the time, because once you fill that in, get the CISD immediately, probably an entry here, stop there, and yeah, 2R would have already been hit. This would have been a solid A+ setup. But the fact that, this has already been bumping for the rest of the, for today, shows me an indication that, like, yeah, in terms of the hourly structure, you're bullish. Daily, you're bullish. And like, you definitely still have a couple more liquidity points to go. And this, like, going up to 1.176 would definitely complete kind of like a 100 pip move. So yeah, looking like a very volatile Monday so far. I'm definitely going to put euro as one of the solid options for today. Now, basically what's going on is we're probably going to look for an ABC where London has broken out of Asia, and we're just going to be looking for a trade, like a retracement into some sort of an hourly PD array, which in this case here would be this bullish order block over here, as well as, whatever further gap that gets left behind. Retracement into here during the New York session, anywhere between 7 to 10 a.m. New York, is going to be a solid trade for the euro, at least. Like this, so far, this is looking pretty A+. In terms of GBP, not like relatively weaker compared to the euro. As you can see, euro is pumping like crazy, and then GBP is, a little bit more tame. This shows you that, the euro has more relative strength. So we're going to shortlist euro, and we're going to ignore GBP as far as today is concerned. Now, Nasdaq is opening really strong. Like, I don't know how we are still, making new all-time highs. Like, the funny thing is, we got stopped out last week on Friday, I believe. Yeah, no, we got stopped out last week on Thursday on this trade right here. Like, basically, we were taking advantage of this order block. Fortunately, we got stopped out, just got swept at the lows, and then price obviously pumped through the rest of Friday. And Friday was my last day in Seoul, so I couldn't really, couldn't really look at the charts too much. But like, yeah, would have definitely tried to take advantage of this if I was actually on the charts. Anyways, in terms of Nasdaq, you are looking bullish, and in terms of the daily buys, in terms of the 1 hourly chart, you are coming back into a PD array. There's no reasonable gaps that are left behind, which is great. Like, this is probably the first week in the last few weeks where we didn't open up with gaps on Monday. Like, if you take a look, last Friday we opened up with a gap, and the week before we opened up with a gap, and then the other week before we also opened up with a gap. Like, let's just say that, you know, this entire war situation is causing a lot of uncertainty, and it's a good sign that, you know, for the first time in a while, we have not opened up with a gap. So anyways, in terms of Nasdaq, you're basically looking for price to not break below this level right here, the 27,380. And in fact, right here, right now, the fact that you're in this order block already means that if you get a convincing CISD, you can already kind of dive into it on a long. Now, this would be an early CISD. That would be an undeniable one. By the way, you just want to see price like not close on the 1 hourly underneath 27,380. If you do, then, you know, that's obviously a bad sign. And in the event that you sweep this lows, right, doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It just means that you can sweep the low. As long as you do not close below this level, you can still kind of recover and head towards the upside. So far, I would say, as long as you go below this level, you want to be really cautious about Nasdaq. So for now, Euro still remains on the short list, and Nasdaq, we could kind of grade it as potentially an A setup, but like not the best. Like, avoid if possible, but Euro definitely looking super clean. Now, in terms of gold, you are looking bullish in terms of daily buys. In terms of the hourly chart, super choppy. Like, at this point, whenever I see this, it's an instant, like, okay, move on. Like, we'll wait for new direction for like the next day or something, because there is absolutely no reason for you to be going for a chart that is this choppy, where like, can you make an argument that this is going long, or can you make an argument that this is going short? If this, you cannot. And in situations like this, literally avoid and just focus on the ones that have clear direction, kind of like what I did on Euro, right? And then oil, oh, this was solid. This passed me a funding challenge last week. But anyways, just going back to the daily chart, that is a bearish daily bias. And then so far, bearish daily bias, but the hourly is looking pretty bullish. So again, like the moment I see this, it's instantly like, okay, there's nothing to do with me. Right now, yes, you're in a block of resistance at the moment, but here's the thing. You already came back into this block of resistance twice, and so far you're still showing indication that you're going up. So this is already, you know, showing you that today is, like, at least on the 1 hourly chart, oil is looking super bullish. And in cases like this, like, yeah, just you already have time for a misalignment there, right? And given the choice between, you know, a clear-cut trade like Euro and trying to force something on the oil, we would rather take Euro. And then Australian, so far you have a bullish daily bias coming back into some sort of PDOA. And you're looking super bullish, actually. Like, I wish I caught this a couple of hours ago. There was a CISD confirmed and then retraced back into the CISD line, and so far you're going up. So right now, it's not too late though, because you have formed this new PDOA. I don't know if you have already tapped into it, potentially. But like, yeah, today, retrace into PDOA going up. Australian dollar remains a solid option next to the Euro. USD Canadian, that was a solid kind of like Thursday trade. Now, so far, you're bearish on the daily bias, and going down, you are going to be like, yeah, like, that's a clearly it's bearish, which is great. Right now, you're just going to look for a momentum trade. Like, basically, as you retrace into any of these order blocks or fair value gaps, you're going to be awkward. The only caveat here, the fact that in terms of the daily chart, you're coming into some sort of key level. So I would place this as kind of like good, definitely better than Nasdaq, but worse than Euro and Australian dollar, right? So if possible, I'm going to take advantage of Australian dollar and Euro. And in the event that USD Canadian shows something clean around New York, that's what I'm going to take. And Nasdaq would be kind of like the last resort, just because it is looking slightly uncertain. But yeah, what you guys just saw was kind of like a daily kind of prep that I do every single day in the markets. Basically, like, you don't want to just constrain yourself to one chart, but at the same time, people tend to have, you know, trouble going through too many charts. And to some people, like 10 is way too many. But the reality is, even though I'm looking through 10 charts, I ended up with basically 2 that are like confirmed, kind of like A+, in my opinion. Not in my opinion. After putting it through the criteria of my system, I've identified that, you know, these are a couple of A+ setups. And then the rest is kind of like hovering between A and the rest. Like 2 are kind of hovering between A, and then the rest are just like no trade for today. So the reality is, even though I go through 10 charts, like, I end up with 2 solid trades. And so it's not really the end of the world, but it's not really that complicated. You guys will definitely see, you know, me do this. Now, it's something I do every single day. You blueprint just, you know, kind of an early market update, kind of like trade daily outlook or whatever. And then obviously later in the New York session, we'll do some live trading together. Now, obviously, this is something that I do every single day for the bootcamp members, kind of like an early kind of daily outlook. And then later during the New York session, every single day we have a trading floor session. Basically, we live trade together, ask questions, and basically just show you exactly how I would execute. But otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Like, I am not going to be around during New York later. It's going to be my first time going back to my usual basketball, pickup games in, I want to say, like 6 months. Because like for a long time I was dealing with like a motorcycle accident injury recovery. But yeah, otherwise I'm just really excited to go play some hoops later. So definitely not going to be trading today. I've already kind of pointed this out. But otherwise I'll see you guys tomorrow, and ciao ciao.